Hi, I'm Allick Delancy, a psychologist working in the field of mental health and education. And today I want to talk about ADHD, that's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and how it can affect a student in the classroom, as well as how it may affect other students who may not have ADHD, as well as the teacher. So, ADHD can be really difficult for a child to have to treat with. The traits associated, the restlessness, the hyperactivity, the impulsivity, and at times even inattention. It could really be difficult for any classroom setting, especially if there's a lot of hyperactivity or impulsivity. The teacher, if not trained to treat with ADHD, can find it difficult to modify the behavior of that child, and while working with that child, also having challenges trying to keep the entire class involved. So it could be a bit of a challenge. Of course, it's not impossible to learn skills and the strategies or techniques to deal and to treat with a student who may be diagnosed with ADHD or may have traits associated with the disorder. So the student may not necessarily qualify for the full disorder, but a number of the traits that the student may show may actually mirror that of a child with ADHD. So we can just think in terms of what to look out for within the classroom, and that will help us to spot. Of course, the objective of this video, it's not to train anyone just by listening to this video to be able to spot and be 100% accurate where ADHD diagnosis is concerned. This is for informational purposes only. So a child who may be presenting with traits associated or probably have the diagnosis of ADHD and is in the classroom, it will be very, very difficult for them to maintain attention. So it's not like they can't maintain attention. They can. So if there's something of interest, they can laser focus onto that. So let's say, for example, it is a favorite television show or probably it's a video game or something like that. That child can really pay rapt or full attention to that particular content because it really is interesting to them. It brings immediate rewards for them. They look at the show and they get all excited, and so they're happy about that. So they could really look at that show, play that game for hours and hours and hours. But it can be difficult for that particular child to actually sit in the classroom, especially if it's a subject matter that they're really not too interested in. Maybe it involves reading, they don't like to read, or probably it's some kind of mathematical something and they really don't like it. Then it could really be difficult for them to sit in that classroom. Let's say, for example, they're sitting for a period of maybe half an hour, 40 minutes or 45 minutes, and really trying to focus on that. They will zone out, they will daydream, or they may engage in some kind of behavioral problem behavior that can be very disruptive. However, they can maintain attention, but what you will see, it is difficulty to maintain attention on task or activities that does not bring a sense of motivation or joy. Secondly, you will see that kind of impulsivity demonstrated in students with ADHD. So that has to do with impulse behavior of interruption. So they interrupt the class quite a bit. They have a question to ask, or they may take things that doesn't belong to them, and then the other students that they took it from may get upset, and then that could be disruptive in the classroom. So it's really difficulty waiting their turn, waiting to be asked a question, so they raise up their hands. If they know the answer or not, they just raise their hands up. Or they may start talking without being called upon or asked to respond to a particular question. So they just start talking, and that could definitely be disruptive in the classroom. So you will see that kind of impulse control challenge, even acting out, and appearing to act without thinking. So it's not that they're not thinking, but it's just that they appear to act without thinking because it's just like, okay, something come to their minds and they just act on it. So you will see those kinds of behaviors being demonstrated in the classroom as a subject matter teacher with a student or a group of students who are diagnosed with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or even if they just have traits associated with the disorder, you may see impulsivity. You will also see executive functioning challenges. So we know that the frontal lobe of the brain is responsible for thinking, reasoning, strategizing, organizing, planning, those sort of things. So we call that the executive functioning of the brain. And because of ADHD being that executive functioning disorder, you will find that in the ADHD child or ADHD student or teenager or more adult for that matter of fact, who might be in the classroom and demonstrating traits associated with ADHD, you will notice that they have challenges with organizing tasks or planning tasks out or managing their time. That's a big one, managing their time. So what you will find happening with an ADHD student is that they will wait last minute. So it is only when maybe an assignment is due, maybe the paper, the essay is due, and it probably has a lot of marks associated with it, then they will try to do it maybe the night before, the day before, or they may even not do it at all and come to you as a teacher and ask for an extension. So that's another trait associated with ADHD, executive functioning challenges. You'll also see hyperactivity. That's another one. So with hyperactivity, you will see that excessive movement in the classroom, difficulty sitting still. They can again be distracting to other students when they get up, move around, maybe walk out of the classroom without asking, or probably they fidgeting a lot in their desk, and they may be knocking maybe their desk, or probably they have a pen in their hands and they're probably making some noise with the pen, or maybe making some kind of distracting movement with it. And sometimes it could be to self-soothe, and it could also not be to self-soothe. It could also be to get the attention of others, or it could be to escape a task. So they kind of not want to be in the class right now, but they can't leave. Maybe it's difficult for them to leave. Maybe there's some kind of policy that they are adhering to where they can't just walk out of the class. But nonetheless, because of the stress of having to sit there, they fidget, and that fidgeting being disruptive. But for them, it could be, if not self-soothing, it could be a means to zone out. So they are simply there doing that and probably not aware that they're making some movements or doing something with their hands that is probably distracting to the others in the classroom. As well as you, the teacher, it could be distracting for you too. Another point to take note of, and this is the final point we'll look at, the ADHD student will have challenges or may have challenges with emotional regulation. So it's not like they will always just fly off the handle and start arguing or quarreling or becoming aggressive or anything like that. It may happen, but it doesn't have to be the case in every situation. But that ADHD child may have trouble managing some emotions. Maybe it's anger, it could be fear, it could be even happiness. You might see an excessive degree of laughter or this kind of surprise or happiness that that you can see being expressed by a ADHD child. Also frustration, you might see increased frustration trying to figure out the subject matter, the problem, trying to write the essay, can't complete the essay, doesn't understand what's going on with the assignment, can't remember to turn in or bring the homework for you to correct the next day. And that could be a source of frustration for them. Annoyance. You could also have like outbursts. So they can't do the exam, they just scream in the classroom or in the exam room. They take the exam paper, probably tear it up, maybe throw it away or something like that while in the exam room. And of course that can cause a level of disruption. But for them it's really frustrating. It's difficult for them to sit in the classroom or in the exam room and try to do the particular task. You may also see a sort of withdrawn, and that can manifest itself in the form of what we call a daydreamy kind of appearance. So They may just be staring into space, or they may be doing something on their book. Maybe it's just a repetitive drawing of something, and they appear to be lost. They appear to kind of not be present. So they may not necessarily be fidgeting, but they may be appearing to not be present while in the classroom. So physically, of course, they're there, but there is an inattention to what is going on. So you can see that as a manifestation of ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or even traits associated with the disorder. So again, a student may not meet the full diagnostic criteria for ADHD, but they may have some traits associated with the disorder, as well as keep in mind some students may not be diagnosed, and it can be difficult for them, because if you're not diagnosed or properly diagnosed, then you may not necessarily get the support that you need, and it is not as though you don't know what to do, because ADHD is not an intelligent disorder, right? So it's not like the student doesn't know what to do. They know what to do, but they just can't do it, or do it adequately, or follow through on what they know, because it is the nature of the disorder. It is the fact that foresight and hindsight is kind of disrupted. So they know what to do, but they just can't necessarily do it. So hopefully this discussion, this presentation on ADHD and the student in the classroom will have added some value to you. Please like, subscribe, and you could also share this information with someone else who can benefit from it. So all the best. Take care.